Good morning to the boys and the girls. So, today's video is not going to be a half hour. That I promise you. Feeling tired for some reason, mate. I thought I slept real good last night, but I could be wrong. I remember my dreams real well. Story for a different day. So, as y'all know, my boat is a Prout 39 Escale. Okay. For anybody that owns a Prout 39 Escale, let me enlighten you, because I'm sure I'm going to say a lot of things not a lot of people know. Anywho, the general stuff. So, the Prout brothers commissioned Lloyd's of London to oversee the construction of the 39 Escale. Okay, and for all intentional purposes, they called it the unsinkable boat for a couple reasons. Now, and I'll elaborate on that in a minute. Having said that, others say that they are a very rigid ocean-going boat, deep water boat. And for the most part, I have to agree. Now, let me go to my first point. Okay, so you're gonna laugh when I show you this. Pardon the shaking here. You're gonna laugh when I show you my little diagram. So here we go. Okay, that didn't work. You're gonna have to give me a second. I'm gonna have to come up with something else. Hold on a minute. Okay, so here's the thing. My first point being this. The Prout 39 Escale has 5 airtight compartments that are supposed to be flotation devices. Okay, now even though the 39 is technically a catamaran, when you're looking at it from the front, or even the back for that matter, it looks like it's a tri-hull. It's not. So the center section of the boat is actually a flotation device. Now, it does touch the water, but only by, well, depending on how much stuff you have on the boat and how much water it displaces and how much the boat sets into the water will determine how much that center section touches into the water. Now, right now, my boat is relatively light. Okay, so that center section is only in the water maybe 4 inches. Matter of fact, the scupper for my cockpit washdown is barely covered. Literally, I mean, it's barely covered by water. I can stick my hand on the edge of the center hull, and I can feel the scupper without even really submerging my hand completely in the water. So it sits that high. Now, on the subject of that center section, let me elaborate on something here. I'm gonna put my little drawing up. So this, okay, so this is how the boat is shaped if you look at it from above. This is your center section. All right. If you look at the back of the boat, it's shaped like this. It comes across, you got a round like this, and it comes across again. You know, so you got your holes. Okay, this center section, for the most part, is empty. This back piece is right here. All right, where the door going into the saloon is about right here. All right. So let's say your door is right there. All this back here is open. That is not a flotation device. It's cut into compartments. You have a locker. You have your cockpit washdown. And then you have a wall. And then you have another compartment, which is, in mine, there's another fuel tank right here. And there's bilge. Okay. Now, this is just floor. All this up here, all this in here is flotation device. Now, let me elaborate on this. Okay. That center section of that boat, if you're standing in your saloon between, well, it depends on which version you have. So my boat, and I'm going to draw another little drawing up in the corner up here so you can see. So in my saloon, I have a horseshoe shaped sofa. Okay, here's the door. All right, then I've got a stair and a stair. All right, this is my front windows up here. All right, this whole floor in here, all the way to the door, is this section where the door is. Your door is right here, literally. All right, so if you come back up in this section, all this whole center section of this boat right here, all in here, all of that is supposed to be airtight. Now, having said that, there's 2 floors there. Not a lot of people understand this. There are literally 2 floors. So where they connected the flotation device to the bottom of the boat, it is a sealed compartment. It was literally a one-piece deal, and they just like, and then they glassed it in on both sides. Now, from the very front window in the floor, obviously, right below the front windows, or the front, I'm trying to think of a way to put this, where the center float device is connected to the bottom of the boat, it runs all the way to the front of the boat. Thank you very much. From that point all the way to the doorway, okay, there's 2 floors. You have the floor, the upper floor of the flotation device where they glassed it into the boat. Above that is the floor that you're standing on in the saloon. Here's something not a lot of people know. Very few people know. If you're familiar with open cell foam and closed cell foam, you know the difference. If you don't know the difference, let me elaborate. Open cell foam will hold water. Closed cell foam, it doesn't hold water. It won't even let water in. Okay, now, between that first floor of the flotation device and the floor of the saloon, if you go all the way to the front, it starts out paper thin, and by the time you get to the back wall or the bulkhead right there at the door, there's a 1 foot or over a 1 foot gap between the floor of the saloon and the flotation device. Here's what they did. For whatever reason, they sprayed open cell foam in that void between the saloon floor and the flotation device. So if you were to cut a hole about 2 feet off of your bulkhead wall where the doorway is, going in between the couch, cut out about a 1 foot square and start digging down through that open cell foam, what you're going to find is water. There's going to be about, well, in my case, I had about 1.5 inches of water in there. And the longer I let it sit, the more water just kept seeping in, because it was seeping in from all the other open cell foam. It was just coming in. So as I was taking the water out, it was just slowly coming back. Now that you know about that part, at some point in my boat, and it really upset me when I saw it, whoever put the air conditioner in my boat, they should not have a job in installing marine air conditioners, and here's why. Okay, I'm sorry about the shaking. I'm trying to get my hand steadied. And here's why. They went under the forward end of the couch and they drilled a 3-inch hole into an airtight compartment. As if that wasn't bad enough, then they went directly to the right of it. They drilled a hole through the hull of the flotation device going under the boat. And they put a drain pipe in so that as the air conditioner was running, it was pulling water in from under the boat. It was cooling the air conditioner, and then it was dumping it out the other side. Okay, you just voided that whole center section of the boat by drilling 2 giant holes in it. Because in the event that you ever needed it, guess what? It ain't helping you. Now it's working against you because it's going to fill up with water. So I'm going to take and pull that air conditioner out, and I'm going to fill all the openings, re-glass all the openings that they drilled into an airtight compartment. Okay, now, having said that, because they did drill a 3-inch opening into the floor of the flotation device, I stuck a camera in there because I wanted to see how it was constructed. For lack of a better term, and trying to be very nice to Lloyd's of London, I was absolutely appalled by what I saw. Okay. At the very back of the saloon where I cut my opening and dug out 1 foot and 3 inches of open cell foam and found water, directly below that ceiling, there was a mountain. And when I say a mountain, I mean it was the whole width of the center flotation device and probably 5 to 6 feet from front to back. It was that kind of a mountain. It filled 1/3, at least 1/3 of the whole back section of that sealed compartment. And I could not tell if it was open cell foam or if it was closed cell foam. Now here's the thing. There was water in there. Okay? And granted, it wasn't a lot of open cell foam, but there was a lot of water in there. And I had to pump it all out. Now, I took the camera and I aimed it toward the bow of the boat, and again, they sprayed a massive mountain of foam at the very forward end of that flotation device. Again, I don't know if it's open cell or closed cell. So here's my train of thought. Closed cell foam does not, it does have flotation value, but at the same time, it holds water. Okay? And given that the boats were built back in the early to mid 90s, I have researched and researched and researched, and there's nothing to say whether that foam is open or closed cell. So at some point, maybe a year or two down the road, I'm going to take that boat out of the water, and that very back arched center section, I'm going to cut the whole back of that thing out, and I'm just going to start digging foam out, and I'm going to dig it all the way to the front and figure out what it is they've got going on. Because also inside that center section of boat, there are two 4-inch pieces of tubing that run down both sides right up in the corner where it meets the floor. I don't know what those pipes are for. It doesn't make sense why they would even have that in there. And I stuck the camera down one, and they're completely empty from one end to the other. So why are they there? Okay. Now, this really concerns me. If there's going to be foam in there, it's going to be closed cell. And now that I just said that, here's another thing. Fiberglass in the winter causes condensation to the nth degree. I mean, it is amazing how much condensation you get just on a cold night from fiberglass. Okay, so the center section, I do believe the water that was in there was strictly from condensation, because the whole center, 1/3 or more of that center flotation, there was no insulation in there. So the condensation was just insane. Okay, so that whole center section needs to be opened up, cleaned out, sprayed with closed cell so there is no condensation. And then the upper floor, which is 4 or 5 layer I forget the name of it. It's basically like paneling that they glued together, and then they encased everything in resin. It's not even fiberglass, it's just resin. They coated everything with epoxy or polyester resin so that it was waterproof. And that's what they used for the floor on the inside of the flotation device. Now, thankfully, mine was in really nice shape. There was no rot in it. It was solid. It was still waterproof, but there was water literally hanging, water droplets hanging from the whole underside of it, which is how I know there's condensation and water getting in there. So that whole thing needs to be gutted, cleaned, dried, and then sprayed with closed cell foam so that there is no condensation. Then it needs to be completely resealed and airtight. Now, after that's done, the saloon floor needs to be cut open. All of that open cell foam, again, needs to be dug out. The floor needs to be dried. And then it also needs to have closed cell foam sprayed in, and then the floor put back down, completely reglassed and reattached, and retabbed, and then have holes, then have 2 or 3 holes drilled down the center, and then go in with large containers of closed cell foam, or have a closed cell foam company come in and do it and fill that whole center section back in with closed cell foam, and then reseal it so that it is a legit flotation device. Because right now, if you've never opened it up, it's not a flotation device. It is a device to guarantee the demise of your boat. Now, having said that, the boat also has 4 other flotation devices. Here we go to the drawing again. Ta-da! Okay, so up here in the bow of the boat, if you go into your V-berth, this whole front section is a flotation device on both sides. There's a flotation device there. Now, if you go back into the starboard side berth, in the engine compartment back here, half of this is engine compartment, half of this is flotation device. Let me go right here. Okay, that actually needs to be bigger. So on my boat, this half is engine. This whole section is flotation device. And same thing on this side. Engine compartment, flotation device. Yeah, I made that too big. There you go. So this whole section is flotation device. Yeah, that's engine compartment on this side. So yeah, they need to be opened up as well, because when I opened this one up, it was absolutely slam full of water. There was no insulation whatsoever in there, nothing to prevent condensation. There was no drain from the sealed compartment into the bilge, which would be great. This way you could occasionally go in here, open a valve up, and if there was water in there, drain it off into the bilge and pump it out. But that wasn't the case. It was slam full of water. And I'm sure this is, and this is, and this is. I'm sure every one of them is full of water. Do yourself a favor and do your due diligence and open every one of those compartments up. If you own one of these boats, cut a 1-foot opening in each one of those compartments, because I can promise you, if you've never had them open, they're full of water. If you ever had a catastrophic issue where you hit something or something hit you, your boat's going down. It ain't floating. It's not gonna function the way Prout designed it to function. Every one of those flotation devices is now a guarantee that your boat's going to the bottom. Okay? And I've already made this video way longer than I wanted to, but I feel like this is important enough that you need to know this. Okay? Yeah. Prout of scale 39. If you have a snow goose, or I forget the other models that they made from 90 to 95. If you own a 90 to 95 Prout and you have flotation devices on your boat, which I'm sure you do, because if I'm not mistaken, that whole series of boats was designed the same way. You need to open those up and check them for water. If there's water in them, cut a big enough opening to where you can get in there, clean it out. Go around the whole outer edge of that compartment. If you have to grind it out and go in with fairing compound and reseal it, and then go inside, thank you very much, and spray closed cell foam, just a small layer of closed cell foam, to stop that temperature differential that causes condensation in those compartments and stop them from filling up. If you have to go to the, or if you don't want to do that, do at least this. Go to the very back edge of those compartments and put a ball valve in, put a spigot valve, whatever the case may be. But put it all the way to the very bottom of that compartment so that every 6 months you can go in there and open that valve, and if there's water in that airtight compartment, it can drain into the bilge and you can at least pump it off and then just close the valve back up. That's where they screwed up. There's no way to get the water out unless you cut the top out of it. So when I cut one of mine open and was like, OMG, it was full to the top. When I cut a hole in the top, my cutting blade was literally throwing water because I was already, not only was I cutting through fiberglass, I was cutting water. It was that full. There was at least, just in that forward starboard compartment, there was at least 200 gallons of water in there. Okay, so do your due diligence. Open them things up and fix them. Fix them the way they were supposed to have been fixed when Prout designed these boats and something went horribly wrong. Because right now those are not flotation devices. Those are devices to guarantee the demise of your boat. Okay? Y'all have a blessed day. Have a Merry Christmas. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. And please hit the thumbs up on the video. It does me good. It does the video good. And to be honest with you, I think every Prout owner from 90 to at least 95 needs to see this video, because I can promise you most Prout owners don't even know. They just know what they were told or know what they read, and that's what they're going on. So again, y'all have a blessed day. You have a blessed holiday. Merry Christmas, and I will see y'all in the next video. I'm out.